Hello, mathematicians. Today we are looking at Module 8, Lesson 2, which is all about representing multiplication of whole numbers by fractions. Hopefully by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to find the product of a whole number and a fraction using a visual model. So spark your learning. It says Earl bakes 3 loaves of bread. He keeps 1/4 of the bread for himself and gives the rest to his neighbors. How many loaves of bread does Earl give to his neighbor? Draw a visual model to show how you can find how many loaves he gives away. Justify your reasoning. So we're going to start by drawing 3 loaves of bread, or 3 rectangles. And then, because of this 4 here, I'm going to split each one into 4s. Then he keeps 1/4, but we want to know how much he gives to his neighbors. So if we have a whole, or 4/4 minus 1/4, that gives me 3/4. So he's keeping he's giving away 3/4. So I'm going to just shade in 3/4 of each loaf of bread. So then we would have 9/4, shade it, and 9/4 equals 2 and 1/4, because 4 goes into 9 2 times with 1 left over. So Earl gives away 2 and 1/4 loaves of bread. Then it says to justify my reasoning. So I'm just going to kind of write what I said. So 3 rectangles represent 3 loaves of bread. He keeps 1/4, so we need to find 3/4. So I divide it each loaf into 4 parts. And shaded 3 of them. Then we're going to move on to the next page. This is Mrs. Fan bakes 2 cakes, each in the shape of a hexagon. She takes 3/4 of the cakes to a party. Determine how much cake she takes to the party using pattern blocks, and then draw a visual model to show your work. So, if we have our pattern blocks out, we will use the hexagon shape to show that. I'm going to do my best to draw a hexagon here. So there's 1 cake, and then we have the second cake. Now, she takes 3/4 of the cake. Well, I can make it so that I have 4 parts all together. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And she's taking 3/4, so we're going to just shade in 3 of the parts. So it says, how did you use pattern blocks to find the amount of cake Mrs. Fan takes to the party? So we represent it each cake with a hexagon. And divide it each hexagon in half to make 4 parts. And that made trapezoids. So this is what amount of the 2 cakes does she take to the party? Well, we have 1 full cake. So 1 full cake plus a half of another cake. So 1.5 cakes. And it says write a multiplication equation to model the problem. Well, we would be doing 3/4 times 2 equals 1.5. Then we go to the next page. So it says Rashad bakes 4 equal-sized granola bars. He serves 2/3 of the bars to his friends. So if we have our 4 granola bars, which I'm going to represent with rectangles, and serves 2/3 of them, so I'm going to split each one into thirds. And then I'm going to shade 2/3 of each one. This is how did you make equal sized parts from 4 holes? What does each part represent? So I drew 4 rectangles and divided each into 3 equal parts. Each part represents 1/3 of the granola bar. This is what does the 2 in the fraction 2/3 represents, and how do you show this in your visual model? Well, 2 represents how many of the 3 equal sized parts are served. Shade it in 2/3 of each rectangle. And it says, how many 1/3 size pieces does he serve? Well, 8 1/3 pieces. So then how many granola bars did he serve? Well, it would be 8/3. So our multiplication problem would be 2/3 times 4 equals 8/3, which would equal 2 and 2/3. Because 3 goes into 8 two times with 2 left over. And then we go to the last page. So it says, Isa has 2 boxes of pizza. Each box has 5/8 of the pizza left. Jack says that this story context can be modeled with the equation 5/8 times 2 equals 1 and 1/4. Explain why Jack's equation does not model the story context. Well, this story context is finding, there's a total of 2 boxes of pizza, and each box has 5/8. So he is finding 2 groups Jack is finding 5/8 of 2 pizzas. The story, or 5/8 of a group of 2 pizzas. The story is finding 2 groups of 5/8. So it says rewrite the story context so it can be modeled with an equation 5/8 times 2 equals 1 1/4, and draw a visual model to represent the problem. So we could still say that Isa has 2 boxes of pizza. But instead of saying each box has 5/8 of a pizza left, we could say that she and her friends eat 5/8 of the pizza. And we would show that by you would have 2 pizzas, and we can split it into 4, each piece into 4, because then we'd have a total of 8 pizzas. And we would shade in, or 8 pieces, sorry. And we would shade in 5, which would give us 1 and 1/4 pizza. And that is all for today's lesson. Hopefully you are now able to find the product of a whole number and a fraction using a visual model. Remember, in order to be a math person, all you have to do is be a person and do math.